This video is supported in part by Tommy and the Order of Cosmic Champions. If you enjoy the never-ending story and Masters of the Universe, this new novel coming fall 2022 is right up your alley.
Hi, thanks for watching GenXGrownUp. My name is Mo and I am a GenXGrownUp, and I bought and reviewed the New Wave qbert Replicade Warren Davis Special Edition because qbert was my favorite arcade game growing up. But in my review, I didn't cover its ability to use an external TV and game controller because, frankly, I didn't think it was something I would ever use. The gameplay and screen on the Replicade was really just fine for playing the game. But New Wave went to the trouble of adding these features, so I was curious to see if the juice was worth the squeeze and tried it out. So I gathered everything I would need to test this out. My qbert Replicade, my Xbox 360 controller, a USB cable, an HDMI cable, and of course the television set. Some of the more observant people watching this video right now might have caught on that I am using a standard edition qbert Replicade and not the special edition. Well, I was one of those lucky guys who got an autographed copy of the Warren Davis edition, so I decided to put that one away and I bought a standard edition as my daily driver. My first test was to just hook it up to the TV and see how it worked. It has a standard HDMI out, and it was as simple as connecting it to my TV and turning it on. And I have to say, it looks pretty good. Both video and sound come from the TV only, and using the Replicade controller works perfectly. I was happy to see that the knockers still function in the Replicade, so when coily falls, you feel and hear that satisfying thunk. But unless you have a really long HDMI cable, the Replicade really doesn't work as a good handheld controller, which is probably why they included the option to use an external controller. I decided to use my Xbox 360 USB controller, and when I first hooked it up and started playing, I couldn't control anything. I tried both ports and still nothing. But then I accidentally started a 2-player game and realized that the controller is only for player 2, with player 1 having to use the actual Replicade to control the game. I couldn't imagine that was the only way to use a controller, and sure enough, when checking through settings, I found a setting called P1 P2 switch on off, and changing this to on allowed me to play single player using a controller. One thing to note is that you cannot change the setting unless the Replicade detects that there's a controller connected. So with that mystery solved, I am now ready to finally play with my TV and an external controller, and the experience wasn't awesome. As you know, qbert is designed to use the diagonal directions instead of the usual up, down, left, right of most games. It feels like the tolerance for hitting that place between directions is just too tight. I had to hit it just right in order to make qbert move. Now you can also use the D-pad on the controller, but I actually found that to be harder to use. Also, I think they had another miss by not triggering the vibration control when you fall. It would have been a nice touch. So my conclusion is that while the external screens and controls work, I just don't see me ever using it. The controller and screen on the Replicade itself work really well, and even someone looking over your shoulder can easily see the screen. Now this doesn't take away from how much I love this Replicade, and you can check out my full review of it here. It's just some bells and whistles that I don't see being very useful for me. Now maybe these features work better with some of the other Replicades. If you have tried this with some other New Wave products, drop me a comment. I'd love to hear how it worked for you. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, take care everybody.